What did Waffles learn after approaching 500 girls? Well, in this video, we're gonna find out. And yes, he's back from retirement, and let's see what kind of wisdom he's picked up along the way.
Welcome back, guys. In the last 3 months, I've cold approached 500
Oh shit, he's like reading a script from his phone, okay.
girls, all during the daytime in wholesome settings such as city squares, outside coffee shops, and I made a note of every single approach I did on my phone. I went on 12 dates from it, and I'm now consistently seeing one of the girls who could go.
Let's just really quickly explore that. He said he did 500 approaches and he got 12 dates. So let's take a look at what a good ratio should be. I think that if your game is good, every other girl you should be able to get their phone number. At the very least, 1 out of 3 girls. So out of 500 approaches, you should have like at least 150 phone numbers, right? Let's just say 100 to be conservative. And I would say something like 1 out of the 4 girls you're texting should agree to go on a date with you. So that means if instead of getting 7 dates, he should have had about 25 to 40 dates. So he definitely underperformed. But again, there's a big difference between good game and then whatever people call Waffles game, which is just basically largely cringe.
To be my girlfriend. In this video, I'm going to explain 5 things I learned from these 500 approaches. But before continuing, I want to say I didn't do this to mess anyone around. I was absolutely serious about finding a relationship and love because I have desires of fathering a family one day in future. I took every date I went on with the intentions of looking for something serious, but now I feel I have lessons to share with you, so if you want to learn and avoid the mistakes I made, keep watching. And one more thing, I'm going to show you the only ever approach.
This doesn't really work when you're reading it from like a phone. Like, oh, and if you guys want to learn, then hang on a second. Okay. Oh, sorry, mom. Oh, yeah. Keep watching.
I filmed just so you can see an idea of how I did them. Excuse me. 2 seconds. Yeah, and then I'll let you go on with the rest of your day. Can I be really honest with you?
Yeah.
Right, I know you just walked straight past me, but I did think you were quite attractive. And,
I'm flattered. I also thought you're not ready for me. I feel like we might have done something.
potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I downloaded Hinge 2 days ago, so potentially. Yeah, and I wasn't going to say anything.
You might have seen me on PWF's channel get absolutely annihilated in a debate, you know. I don't know if you saw me there or...
Potentially, yeah, and I wasn't going to say anything, but I don't know. And I've also noticed you're wearing some perfume, and I'm like, no girl who's in a relationship goes around wearing this kind of perfume.
Do you think?
So,
oh, I didn't know that. That was
so
a thing.
would I be correct?
You are correct.
A single girly. Yeah. Oh, what's your name, by the way? Nice, I'm Sam. Love you. It does ring a bell. No, I do remember now.
That's so funny.
Yeah, no, that definitely does ring a bell. Yeah, you must have matched with me or something. Hinge, right?
On your 2 days, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
wow, cool. Yeah, so interesting to meet in person.
I know.
Good to get off the apps and actually
funny.
talk to somebody in real life. Yeah, so what are you up to today?
So this was actually not bad. Like, I mean, it wasn't great, don't get me wrong, but this was decent, like basic flirting. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to go when I saw he had infield. And this is very different than what he described when he was on Debate in My Channel. He just described basically going up to a girl and right away saying like, hey, I find you attractive. Do you find me attractive?
That if I try to utilize game and social skills within the first 5 minutes, it leads to less dating success. I have 3 questions that I line up, and I will say each one after the other after the next. The first question is, are you single at the moment? Okay. And then she can say yes or no. And then I say, are you looking to stay single or are you looking to meet guys?
But he didn't actually really do any of that. This probably was one of his best infields. I'm assuming he cherry picked that. I'm not going to show this because he asked me not to, but I did see some of his other infield, and let's just say it was not nearly as good. But yeah, like this was actually semi-decent, but I want to see what happens after that.
So after a few more minutes, I eventually got that girl's number and arranged a date. Basically, all of my approaches followed this formula.
Like, Waffles just disproved everything he's talked about. He's just literally by himself, where he contradicted. Literally by himself showed that when you approach a girl, you want to flirt with her, you want to be normal, you want to be funny, you want to be witty, right? You want to joke around with her, you want to take your time, and then you want to ask her on a date. You want to be like, hey, you're hot. I think I'm a 7. Waffles rates me a 6.5. Do you want to go on a date with me, right? So very, very different than what he described when he was on Debate in My Channel, for anyone who saw that.
And even though I messed up the opening script with stutters and forgetting what I was supposed to say, it didn't make a difference. You can see her choosing signals were A tier or S tier from the way she was laughing and giving enthusiasm. However, unfortunately, she later flaked because she saw me on a date with someone else.
Wait, let's read this. Did you manage to get the work done you would have liked today? Yeah, I think I saw you at the... Yeah, I was. You should have come and said home, return the favor. I thought you were on a date. Hinge was down 3 days ago. I won't say much. You got many about that, though? Like, this is just weird. Why is he triple texting her on all these messages? I thought you were on a date. I would just reply with, like... No, that was my mom. I would just joke around if I was really on a date, or like, nah, I'm saving the best for you, or something like that. But I think he's just like, he just says, I won't say much about that though. So he's just being like overly serious and overly cryptic here, and that's probably why he got flaked, right? That and the triple texting.
That was unlucky, but so much for pre-selection being true. Anyways,
So maybe it's not the pre-selection, maybe it's just that you suck at texting. You ever think about that?
now getting into the 5 things I learned from approaching 500 girls. Number 1, looks are the most important thing that matters. I know a lot of you would have seen this one coming, but I can't deny from experience,
I personally would have never seen that coming.
this had to be the first one. It was just so obvious. I'm talking about face, I'm talking about height, age, hairline, race. If you try doing this as some ugly dude or a dude way older than the girls, then you are literally wasting your time and will end up destroying your self-esteem in the process. You will receive instant blowouts, scared and apprehensive body language. It will be obvious you shouldn't be doing it. As an average guy, the majority of the time I could tell within 10 seconds after I said my opener whether a girl was interested or not. I'm no Chad, but I'm not ugly either. But I could always tell if a girl was genuinely interested, or just being polite, or not interested at all by her body language.
So yeah, this is way oversimplistic, right? I think what he wants is the girls who are super interested in him from the start, and there will be girls like that. I've had girls where I approach and I can tell right away they're super into me, but those are the small percentage of the girls that you're actually going to date and hook up with, right? There's going to be 3 types of girls. Let's just try to oversimplify it a little bit. There's going to be the girls he's talking about who are like very interested. They give you a lot of IOIs from the start. There's going to be girls who are very not interested. They're just going to be like, oh, okay, thanks. And there's going to be a bunch of girls in the middle, right? Well, they like you. They think you're cute, right? You're not their perfect type. And, they want to see what game you got. They want to see how flirty you are. They might shit test you a little bit, right? And all those girls, he's just going to completely miss out on, which I would say is the majority of girls, again, that are at your disposal, just to solely focus on this very small select of girls. And you could get all these girls just if you're willing to play the game a little bit. Just flirt with her for a minute or two, right? Which seems like is what he does in his infield anyway. So I'm really confused how he came with this takeaway. I guess it's funny because he thinks that the issue was that his looks were not high enough or his brute selection was not high enough, when in reality it was either the girl didn't like seeing him on a date or she didn't like the way he texted her, probably a combination of both of those.
Within the first 10 seconds. For this to work as a guy, you pretty much need to be approaching girls the same age as you, the same phenotype or ethnicity, and from a similar wealth/affluence level.
Okay, this is some of the dumbest shit ever. Okay, you do not need to approach girls from the same ethnicity. I almost entirely approach Latinas because that's who I like. I have a lot of Hispanic friends who approach almost entirely white girls and so on, or some guys like Asian girls, blah, blah. So that's just complete nonsense. What do you mean same wealth categories? How are you gonna fucking figure out her income? Like you're gonna hang out in like an upper middle class part of town? You can approach poor girls, you can approach rich girls, you can approach every type of girl in the middle, right? So that doesn't mean anything. And yeah, the girl doesn't have to be the same looks level as you. In fact, I prefer girls who are more attractive than me. I think I'm okay. I think I'm, decent looking, but I want a girl who's more attractive than me. I want a girl who's like, instead of like a 6 like I am or something like that, who's a 7, who's an 8, right? So you can absolutely grow for girls who are more attractive to you. Now look, I will say this, to give a little bit of credence to something he's saying. If you're like a 3 and you're approaching a 9, that's going to be a very uphill battle. Although I haven't seen those work out, but those are rare, right? But if the girl's like 2 points hotter than you, then that's actually normal, right? Because girls are supposed to be prettier than men.
The expected value from approaching girls who fall outside of these boundaries is very close to 0. Number 2. What you say doesn't really matter. I found that cold approach was pretty much a massive numbers game. On average, I needed to do 5 approaches to get 1 number, and 10 numbers to get 1 date.
Yeah, so 5 approaches to get 1 number is pretty poor. Like for me, I would say it would be, depends on where I am, either 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 3. But 1 out of 5 isn't terrible. But I guess he just wound up fucking a lot of those up over text. So it seems like if he approached 500 girls, then he got 50 phone numbers, but he only got 12 dates. So the majority, or 7 dates, so majority of those girls, he wasn't able to get out because of his poor text game.
More or less became a game of me saying my opener, listening to her for a little bit, and asking boring questions like where she's from and what she's doing with her life at the moment. And then, if the choosing signals were A tier or S tier, I'd be able to get her number and hopefully get her out on a date. For all the girls that gave B tier or below choosing signals, and I got so many of these girls' numbers, not a single one converted to a date. What this means is, in order to get a date as a man from cold approach, it's not good enough just to get a girl's number. If her choosing signals are B tier or below, there is a 99% chance she will flake.
No. I've had situations where I've gotten like I've had like a 30-second convo where the girl was in a rush and I was like, hey, I thought you were really cute. She's like, thanks, I gotta go. I'd be like, all right, let me get your number real quick. She's like, I gotta go, just give me your number. And I've had dates with those girls and I've slept with those girls. So yeah, no, I think he's just really bad at like making it happen with any girl who's not like super into him.
It is literally a game of going up to as many girls as possible and just waiting for the A or S tier signals as a man. These are the only girls you'll be able to get on dates.
It's a very passive approach. That's what I also don't like. It's very passive. It's like, just go up to many girls and try to get A tier or S tier choosing signals and just wait. I prefer making shit happen.
When they are already giving you A or S tier choosing signals. 3. This is the most important one. Women will categorize you in one of 3 tiers. These tiers are: 1. I'm happy you've approached and want to get to know you. 2. I'm happy you've approached, but I'm not happy to get to know you. 3. I'm unhappy you've approached, I don't want to know you, and you should not be doing this. Now,
okay, category 3 doesn't really exist unless the girl's really pissed off or you're saying something really, really cringe. Again, there was a study that came out that showed something like 78% of Gen Z girls, so girls under the age of 30, want to be approached more. So a majority of girls, especially younger girls, feel like they're not being approached enough. So there goes that. Yeah, I think that, like, again, I think it's, again, overly reductionist what he just said. I think you're going to get girls who are really into you, like I mentioned earlier. Then you get girls who are down to chat with you and down to get to know you, but they haven't really, they're not sold on you yet, right? They just want to see, they kind of want to feel out the vibe mode, and that's going to be most girls. Then there's going to be some girls who are like, really, like, you're really not their type, but maybe there's something about you that interests them. Those are going to be a lot harder. And there's going to be girls who are just like, yeah, you know, thanks for saying hi, I appreciate the compliment, but I'm just not interested because I have a boyfriend or whatever, right? So I think that's a better way of describing the categories.
these tiers can pretty much be boiled down to the 3 Fs. F'er, friend, and F off. If you are an attractive guy, a 7 or 8 out of 10, you will often get categorized in the first tier. Women will be very positive you've approached. They will give their number enthusiastically and be happy to go on a date to try to get to know you. I only receive this treatment 2% of the time. Maybe if I was the girl's type, or if she's never been approached before, so she's experienced a high dopamine interaction. As for the second tier, if you are an average guy, in my looks level or in and around, you'll likely be placed as tier 2. Women will be happy you've approached and say things like, "You've made my day. You should do this more often. You can message me." But 9 times out of 10, they are only happy you've approached and not happy to get to know you. I will say that again. 9 times.
Have you ever considered the possibility that your text game just sucks with your triple texting? Like, maybe she is, like, somewhat interested, but you're just fucking shit up over text? Like, I don't think that ever even crossed his mind.
Out of 10, they're only happy you've approached, but not happy to get to know you. Half of the girls you get numbers from won't even respond to your first message.
That is true. I will give them that.
A big chunk of the others will fall off several hours or a day later. Why do girls do this? It's because you are a tier 2 man.
I don't know about that. Yes, half the girls will not respond to a phone number you get, but out of the girls that do respond, I think you're going to be able to get a date with, like, maybe 1 out of 3 of them, and most of the time they won't fall off within hours. Most of the time they will fall off days later. It's not going to be hours later, it's going to be days later. If a girl bothers to respond initially, then at least she has some interest, right? Unless she says something like, "Hey, sorry, I have a boyfriend." The girl has some interest, but sometimes just life gets in the way.
They only want to know guys they deem to be tier 1. Basically, if you are tier 2, then you are attractive enough that the girl thinks, "Wow, this okay looking guy has came up to me, overcome fear, and psyched himself up just to compliment me and ask for my number. He did this to me and not any of the other girls in the vicinity. Therefore, it must mean I am very, 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 very attractive." She's happy you've complimented her, which gives her proof of her beauty, but you are not attractive enough for her to want to know you. Lastly, as for the poor guys in tier...
Maybe you're just not interesting, or you're not sexual enough for her to want to get to know you. Maybe she just seems to you as like a black pill bot. Well, actually, no, because if you watch his approach video, he's actually like not, he can actually flirt and have a conversation. I guess he just has cognitive dissonance and thinks like what he was doing is just like figuring out her interest. I don't know, it's weird.
3. If you are here, the girls are both unhappy to get to know you and unhappy you've even approached them. This is when the girl thinks you are so unattractive as a guy that she is offended or frightened you've came up to her. You will receive instant blowouts. The reason this happens is because she thinks, "Did this guy honestly believe he had a chance with me? He should know his place and go for..."
No, that doesn't happen. If you get blown out, instantly blown out, it's either the girl is afraid for some reason, but not because you're ugly, because maybe that she just had a bad experience. You know, maybe a month ago she got sexually harassed or something like that. But more likely she's just busy, or she has a boyfriend, right? Or maybe you trigger something in her, you remind her of her ex, or some weird shit like that, right? But yeah, girls are very seldomly thinking like, "Ugh, you're so ugly to even approach me." Girls will appreciate the compliment no matter who it comes from.
Girls who are on his level. Either that, or she thinks nefariously as a result of the horn effect, which is the opposite of the halo effect, that because you are ugly, you might be dangerous or threatening. In other words, if you are unwanted male attention, then she will perceive your approach as harassment or predatory. Those are the 3 tiers of men. Learn and gauge where you get placed. Number 4. Most women who are single for a reason. On average, 40% of the girls I approach gave the rejection, "I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend." Whether they were telling the truth or not, I can only assume they were. However, what I noticed is the girls that claimed they were in a relationship were, on average, way more receptive and polite about me approaching them. It felt as if they would have otherwise accepted me if they weren't currently with someone.
I don't know about that. I have a complete opposite experience. I find the girls that are not in a relationship to be a lot more receptive than girls who are in a relationship.
They would say things like, "That was so nice of you to say anyway. You should do it more often and eventually you'll find someone. It's such a big city and there's so many girls that would be interested." As for the single girls, on average, they would be significantly more dry, would require more enthusiasm to get...
Also, I don't get that as much. I don't get girls like, "Oh, I hope you find someone." I feel like that they only say that to a guy that seems like friend zone-y, right? Like, I feel like if you're like a sexual threat, they'll just be like, "Oh yeah, you do this with every girl," almost. That'll be the default assumption if you're like smooth, right, and charismatic. And then you have to almost take her out of that default assumption, even though it's true. You'd be like, "Yeah, no, don't worry, you're special," or something like that.
On the same level, but even then would show their disinterest later in the interaction. Why do I think this correlation exists? I think it's simple selection bias. For the girls that are pleasant, have reasonable standards, and positive energy when men talk to them, of course these are going to be in relationships. Whereas for the girls that are drier, have an element of hostility whenever a man talks to them, of course these are more likely to be single. The prophecies end up fulfilling themselves. I promise you, if you ever try doing cold approach as a guy...
Every girl who's in a relationship started off single. So at one point she was single. Like, sometimes just shit doesn't work out. Sometimes the guy cheats on her. Sometimes the guy fucking ignores her. Sometimes the guy's really bad in bed. Like, this idea that like all the time the girls are only single because they fucked something up is not true. Like, every single girl who's in a relationship at one point was single. So I don't even know what he's getting at here.
You will notice this yourself in the first 10 girls you talk to. The ones that have boyfriends are on average more pleasant and seem they would accept you if they weren't otherwise taken already.
Let me know in the comments if this is your experience. My experience is the polar opposite. I find that single girls are just more receptive than girls who have a boyfriend.
Whilst single girls are more often than not single for a reason. 5. When girls say they want to meet guys in real life, they are lying. In 3 months, I arranged way more dates through online dating apps than I did with a very methodic way of approaching in real life. On average, 50 approaches to get 1 date from cold approach, but those 50 approaches would take hours or an entire day to get done. Many days I would be outside all day only to come home empty-handed after all the...
Yeah, that's a problem with game. You should not have to approach all day or days and get 0 dates. Like, yeah, that's just an issue. It's just that you're not that charming. You're not that confident. You're not that charismatic.
Numbers I got ended up flaking. The approaches I did became very predictable and would end up falling into one of 4 categories. 40% of the girls would straight up say they have a boyfriend. 20% would be extremely dry, giving D or F tier signals, so it wasn't even worth asking for their number. 20% would give their number. 20% wouldn't even stop to allow me to say my opener. That's right, they just keep on walking like I don't even exist. When women say they want to meet...
Because they don't owe you the time of day. Like, you're a stranger going up to a girl. Like, yeah, it's kind of impolite, but like, it almost feels like he's like kind of entitled to their time.
Guys in real life, what they really mean is they want to meet chads in real life. It's a matter of fact, as a broader point, when women say anything about guys should do this, or we want guys to do that, what it really...
Well, we can just really easily disprove that. The majority of couples still meet in real life. This is according to the interviews I've done and also just empirical studies. Like, they survey couples, and something like 30%, depends on which survey you go off, but something about 30% of couples start online. The majority of couples still meet in real life. They meet at a bar, they meet through friends, they meet at work, they meet at school. That's how the majority of couples meet. Also another thing I want to mention, in the last 2 years there's been a trend of people actually preferring not to use dating apps. So for example, Tinder users have been dropping off for the last 2 years, and this is just for a lot of the main dating apps. So people are recently flogging more to meeting in real life than dating apps. So he's just completely wrong about this. Now, people still like the convenience of dating apps. A lot of people are on dating apps, but I disagree with this idea that just like the majority of girls prefer to meet online. The majority of girls prefer to meet in real life because they can get an idea right away of your vibe. They can make sure you're not a catfish. They can make sure you're normal, you're not weird, right? That's the big advantage women have when they meet a guy in real life versus meeting a guy online where they don't know any of these things.
Chad to do those things. Chad to do this, or Chad to do that. What's my proof of this? Well, I went on a date with a girl from Cold Approach. She was giving me S-tier signals. In fact, here was the very first message she sent me. And I was thinking,
"Hey Sam, yes, it was lovely to meet you. No one has ever done it before. It was really sweet, thanks." Okay, that's an interesting reply.
This is perfect. This attractive girl is giving me S tier, she's never been approached before, and later, on the date she even mentioned how she's not on dating apps, never has been. I truly thought I found a hidden gem. We made out multiple times on the first date. She agreed to meet again at the end. However, by the time I got back home, I'd never hear from her again. But that's not the end, because just 1 week later, I saw her on Tinder. And it was a freshly created profile because it said at the bottom, new here. So, what this taught me is that despite her meeting me, a looks-matched guy, in real life, and got on really well from the first date, she still thought she'd rather try her luck with a Chad who she could meet online.
So funny how bad his takeaways are. Holy shit. It almost feels like a parody video. Reality, what happened most likely is that he failed to close. He said they just made out, right? The girl's probably DTF. She wanted to fuck. She was into him and he failed to make it happen. And she kind of lost respect and she got bored and she moved on to another guy who can make it happen, okay? If you have a girl who's making out with you multiple times on a date and saying like really positive things, chances are she's DTF. And if we Waffles had the common sense to actually try to pull her back to his place, he probably would have banged her. And if he banged her, she probably would have been a lot more receptive. But again, his takeaway here is not that. It's that, oh, I wasn't chat enough for her.
Anyway, that's enough BPs for today. But if you've enjoyed and want to hear more of my experiences and discover the honest truth about dating as a man, then you'll be pleased to know my book, The BP Bible, The 10 Commandments of How Dating is Rigged Against Men and What You Can Do About It, has officially released and can be purchased right now, paperback, in the description through Amazon. Or alternatively,
God, he has a book now. I like the top comment. It just says rent must be due.
If you'd rather save some money and receive the ebook version and the audio version and all of my delisted videos and an exclusive video chapter where I talk about a commandment from my book, then you can purchase that directly from my website below. This is cheaper because it doesn't have to pay the Amazon production and delivery fees. This package also includes a...
Okay, so this is just him, I guess, shilling for his book. Let's just take a quick look at the comments. Let's see. What I found out after 500 approaches, my court date is next Tuesday. Well, guess who's back? The bills cannot be that high. They're happy you approached, but not happy to get to know you. What I learned after approaching 500 girls, it's over. I've been cold approaching women. Yeah, I guess his community is not super excited to have him back. Or maybe, I know, they're just playing it coy. But yeah, like overall, like again, everyone knows that I get along with Waffles. I like him as a person. But God, this is so cringe. His takeaways are so cringe. I think he's just like, he backward rationalizes from the conclusion that it's always looks, right? That's always where he starts, right? And then he backwards rationalizes everything from there. And that's how he come up with the conclusion that for that girl who went on a date with him, was making out with him, that the issue wasn't the fact that he couldn't close, that he didn't even probably try to close. The issue was that he was just not chat enough. Or for that girl that saw him on a date, the issue wasn't that he was triple texting her, or the issue wasn't that he handled it really weirdly, or the issue wasn't that he was even potentially on a date with another girl, and this girl was like kind of possessive. The issue was that he wasn't chat enough. So yeah, there we go. So overall, what I recommend you do with this advice or with his book, absolutely nothing, because it's dog shit advice. All right, hope you guys found this video valuable, and if you want to get my book, you can download from Amazon. No, I'm just kidding. You can download for free. We have a free Tinder guide, link in description, shows you how to get good photos so you get matches, shows you text games so you don't have to triple text girls, and you can actually get more dates, not 7 out of 500 girls. Link in description. Best of all, it's free. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time.